That's pretty loud.
All righty, so we're going to start things up here. Oh, here comes another one. Going to start things up. I'm going to watch the incoming. I'm going to ask everybody, like always, to turn off the ringers on their phones, and if you've got chatty wives or barking dogs, to keep them near the room. So we gives all the attention to our guest speaker. Tonight is the last Share the Knowledge session until next winter. We had a good run. I think we had 8 or 9 from January to now, and a big mix of people. And it's been a lot of fun, hopefully keeping everybody busy during the cooler months of the year. And hopefully by this being our last one, hopefully it'll start getting even warmer than today's gross, disgusting, wet and chilly day. But I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Tom, K1KI. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hey, good evening. Thanks, Larry. Where do I begin? Okay. I'm Tom, K1KI. I live just across the border, right along the Massachusetts-Connecticut line in West Suffield. I can see a number of familiar faces here, but some of you I don't know, and glad to meet you. I'm here to talk about the New England Qso Party. And this is what started off as a small event about 20 years ago to generate activity on the air in New England, and has grown into something that had around 1,000 entries last year and about 1,100 the year before. So it's been a very active event on the air. It's aimed at HF. For those of you, it looks like most of the call signs, I think most of you are likely to be on HF at least some of the time. And it takes place, the New England Qso Party takes place the first full weekend of May, which means the weekend after this coming one. So it's May 7th and 8th. And it will, well, it's a 20-hour on-the-air event. And let me just bring up, I made up a few slides, so let me just start by going through a couple of them, and I'll talk along with it as we go. Let's see if I can do this correctly. Okay, now you can see my screen, I hope.
Yes, we can.
You can? Okay. Is that full screen, or do you see the stuff on the left too?
No, we see the stuff on the left too.
Okay, I don't need to see that, but whatever. Okay, I'll just leave it that way. We have a website that's really simple. It's NEQP, NewEnglandQsoParty.org. And I'll just leave it at that and go to the next one. Basically, I know this is going to be old news to several of you. Pete W1RM is a very reliable participant in it every year. Frenaye N1FJ has been on, I think almost every year, maybe not all of them, but pretty close to it. Ray, I think you've been on a couple of times at least, and don't know about all the rest of you. Maybe a couple of you have been, and a couple others have been as well. But it's an on-the-air event on the HF bands, 80 through 10 meters. And it's almost all on CW and sideband, but digital modes are permitted. And the activity on digital modes is increasing slowly. A QSO party in general, New England Qso Party has digital modes increasing slowly. Some of the others have a fair bit more digital activity. And the activity is usually 12 to 24 hours long. Some of them go longer. Some of them go shorter. The New England Qso Party is actually 20 hours over over 2 days with a break in the middle. And the general goal is to stimulate activity. So when I started this 20 years ago, I worked with Bob WNRH, who used to be part of the Framingham Club in the Boston area. And they were the sponsor of the Massachusetts Qso Party. I also worked with the Candlewood Amateur Radio Association in Connecticut, who used to sponsor the Connecticut Qso Party, and a couple of others. And the bottom line was, in New England, we had a bunch of different events that did not have a whole lot of activity. And so there was just not a whole lot of interest in them because there just wasn't enough activity on the air. So the idea was to let's combine the 6 states in New England and try to make one event where each of the states could be on and be the focus of the contest. So for the New England Qso Party, the focus is stations in New England. Surprise. But what that means is when you get on the air in the New England Qso Party, you're the DX, you're the target. People want to find you and work you. So you can call CQ even with low power and get a lot of answers much of the time. You don't have to be a big gun because they'll work the big gun and move on to the next one. And that could be you. So that's why individual Qso parties have a lot of appeal, because each part of the country gets their focus depending on which Qso party. For instance, this coming weekend is the Florida Qso Party. So if you get on over the weekend, there'll be an awful lot of W4 stations on both CW and sideband. And theirs is one of the big 2 or 3 in the country. The Florida Qso Party is very, very popular. So the idea is to have a focus on a particular area of the country. Florida, as I mentioned, California has one in October. New England is the first full weekend of May, which was an interesting choice of dates, by the way, because we started to look at the wintertime and then decided that maybe wintertime wasn't a good idea for Northern New England. Even though people are stuck at home, it's not a good idea, a good time of the year to go mobile or to get out and around. And one of the actual interesting things about Qso parties is there's a lot of people who go out mobile and try to get on from some of the harder to find counties. So we picked the first weekend of May. At that time, there was only one other significant Qso party, and that was from Indiana. But since then, a couple of more have been added. Delaware is that weekend, and the one for the 7th call area is on that weekend as well. New England contest starts late, starts in the afternoon on Saturday and goes till, 1 in the morning, and then starts again at 9 in the morning and goes till 8 at night on Sunday. So it does not overlap with Nearfest. And actually this year is the first year I can remember that Nearfest was not on the same weekend as the New England Qso Party. They're this weekend. But basically a Qso Party is again, it's the world works New England in this case, and New England stations work anybody in the world, including New England. So if you're in New England, you can go hunting for New England stations, but your target audience is basically everybody, not just New England stations. And it's a fairly simple format where you get a number of points for each contact you make. In the New England contest, it's 1 point for sideband, 2 points for CW, and 2 points for digital mode QSOs. The thought there being that on sideband, you can work guys about twice as fast as you can on CW or digital. And it's not a perfect system, but that's roughly what it is. So it's the number of stations you work times the point per contact. And then at the very end, you multiply those number of points by the number of, if you're from outside of New England, it's the number of New England counties that you talk to. And if you're in New England, it's actually the number of states, Canadian provinces, and DX countries you talk to. And the bottom line is New England as the target becomes very popular, and you'll be able to work a lot of stations. And the idea here is that this is not as intense a contest as the big DX contests or some of the others. It's a little bit lower key. There are slow times and fast times. And if you're a big gun, you can have a lot of fun. If you're a small guy, you can also have a lot of fun with modest antennas, because people are looking for all of the stations in New England, not just the loud ones. So the basic goal of a QSO party is to get people on the air, get them, make opportunities for people to learn how to use their station and their antennas, learn propagation, improve your operating skills and accuracy. And there's some competitiveness, and whether that's you trying to be the best in the state or best in the county or best in the country, you know, you decide. Or you can just compare to a friend who might have a similar antenna. And it's good for both beginners and experts. So it's low key. There's no pressure to operate the full time, in this case, 20 hours. If you know, we're happy if you get on the air at all. If you get on for an hour, that's great. If you get on for 10 hours, that's even better. But if you get tired after 3 hours, that's okay. We're happy just to have activity. And in the end, we'd love to have you send in a log of your activity, because that helps us double check the other scores to make sure that they get your call sign right, and so on. So we use the logs that are received to cross-check and make sure that the people that come out on top actually have the best, the best scores. And there's a premium on accuracy. And we also have a setup so that radio clubs can, or members of radio clubs can combine their scores for a club score. For instance, HCRA typically has, I'll say 3 to 7 active stations on the air during the NEQP. Last year, there were just 3. In past years, we've had 5 or 6. I think we peaked at 7 at one point. And generally, and there's a couple clubs outside of the area, that like the Florida Contest Group or the Potomac Valley Radio Club in the Washington, D.C. area, that often have as many as 30 stations that operate and combine their scores for a club score. And then QSO parties also generate certificates based on a certain level of activity, the top stations in the state or the top low power station in the state, that kind of thing. And some of the QSO parties offer plaques to the top scorers. And the New England contest, for instance, has more than 40 plaques that are awarded to stations in New England and outside of New England who are the top scorers. So QSO party history, just a general piece of information. The QSO parties have actually existed for more than 65 years. Best I can tell, the first one was Pennsylvania in the 1950s. There was actually a New England QSO party in the 1960s, but it was a different format than the one today. It was actually sponsored by, I think, Pete, you might remember this, the Connecticut Wireless Association, I think, was the sponsor.
Yeah, that was just before my time in the club, Tom.
Okay.
And that was quite a surprise to find that out.
Yeah.
The PWA, what I'm trying to do here is show one of the plaques. Let's see. There we go. So here is one of the very nice plaques that I won in 2020 for first place Connecticut, which is hard to do given some of the guys who are on in Connecticut, but it's a very handsome plaque and worth going after.
Yeah, good, thanks,
Yeah.
thanks. And these two crazy high school kids in 1966 started a California Qso Party because there wasn't one. And one was me and one was a friend of mine in high school. So we apparently got too bored in high school and started the California contest. When we graduated from high school, we handed it off to somebody else, and it's now handled by the Northern California Contest Club. Florida contest was started in 1998, and then the New England one started in 2002. So those are the popular ones. So what makes a QSO party successful? As I said before, it generates a lot of activity in a particular part of the country. The idea is, for instance, in this coming weekend, you'll hear a lot of stations on from Florida. The following weekend for the New England contest, there'll be a lot of New England stations on. And not only will there be stations on the air, but the idea that everybody that runs a QSO party, we try to get every one of the counties in the target area active. So in New England, there's 67 counties, and every year we try to get every one of them on the air. It's not very hard to get the more populated ones on the air, like Middlesex County, Mass is a very busy, very big county. Rochester and Hillsborough counties in New Hampshire have a lot of people. They're very active. Actually, as it turns out, Hampden, Hampshire, and Franklin County, Massachusetts, are not all that active. I know, I think I saw N1YL on here a little earlier. I don't know if she's still on here or not, but from Franklin County, she's been one of the more active people. Hampton is usually the most active of the three, Hampshire a little bit less, and Franklin, one of the harder ones in the state. The actual hardest one has in recent years been Martha's Vineyard or Dukes County. There's not all that many people that are active there. And Nantucket is fairly hard, although the last couple of years there's been 2 or 3 people active there. And surprisingly, Suffolk County, which is Boston, has been very, very hard. We had somebody last year that operated from the Northeastern University Club in Suffolk County, but some years that's very popular and some years not. But the idea is to get all the counties on, which also generates a lot of people who are interested in county hunting. They come and they aggressively look for the rarer counties, and particularly the mobiles that go into a lot of different counties. Another way of measuring success of the contest is the number of logs submitted. As I said, for New England, we've had about 1,000 last year and about 1,100 the year before when COVID was in full swing. It's a good QSO party, like any contest, tries to make sure that the people that get the top scores actually earn them by making sure that the logs were accurate, and the ones that are close, you double check to make sure who actually the winner was. We like it if people say they had a good time. And one of the better measures is if they come back again the next year. So I mentioned counties in New England. This is a little bit small to see, but Rhode Island only has 5 counties. That's the smallest state. Massachusetts has a few more. Connecticut has 8. Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine have at least 10 each. Maine and northern New Hampshire and northeastern Vermont are by far the toughest ones to work because they're just pretty sparsely populated. I think one of the counties in northeastern Vermont, currently only has 10 hams listed. And of those 10, I don't think all of them are, or maybe only 1 or 2 are active on the air. So we work really hard to get mobiles to go visit those counties during the New England Qso Party. And we've had people go to 10 or 15 or 20 different counties. I think the record is some guy managed 32 counties one weekend of the 67. That's pretty amazing, because if you know New England, you know that there's some roads that go north-south and there's some roads that go east-west, but going from Vermont to Eastern Maine is not a straight line. And if you want to cover all those counties, you're driving a lot of back roads. The good news is in May, there's not many tourists. In May, you may see snow on the side of the road in some of the higher elevations. And you might find a whole lot of potholes. But on the other hand, like I said, there's not many tourists, and you get to maybe see a lot of wildlife. See the trees are coming out in 2 weeks. You'll see a lot of them in southern New England, and maybe a few in the central part, and not very many in the northern part of New England. So we typically get anywhere from 8 to 10 mobiles that are out at some point during the weekend. And again, we try real hard to get all of the counties active. So last year, whoops, I skipped one there. Last year, we had a total of, I said 1,000, it's 947 logs that were received. Almost 50 from Canada, 26 overseas, 600 something from the rest of the USA, and 235 from New England. And then we compared how many of that 235, of those 900 something logs, there were 900 or more active stations on the air from New England. From Massachusetts had the most with over 300. Even Rhode Island had 59 different stations on the air. So we actually had quite a bit of activity around New England, and the log showed over 130,000 QSOs made during the weekend. So it was very busy, and got a lot of good comments from people about having a good time. So last year we had 10 mobiles. All of the counties were active. Here's the 4 counties that were the hardest to work were Martha's Vineyard and Dukes County, Mass, Knox County, Maine, up along the coast, Piscataquis, Maine, which is kind of central northern Maine, and Orleans, Vermont, which is northeastern northeastern Vermont. W1 stations made 84,000 contacts, non-New England stations, about 38,000. And this is just from the logs we received. And we sent certificates to anybody that made 25 or more QSOs, and plaques went actually to 46 different stations. So Hampden County, since this contest began, has sponsored a plaque for the top score in Hampden County, which has been great. This last year, it went to Mike DeChristopher, N1TA, who's been a participant most years. And he had the top score in Hampden County this last year. One of the things that comes up a lot of times for people that are not particularly active in contesting is, what do you use for logging software? And the answer is, even if you log on paper, that's okay. If you send us a log, we prefer it in an electronic format. But if you send it to us on paper, or you take a picture of your piece of paper, or 5 pages of paper, that's okay too. We can take it that way. But 95% of the people that send in logs use some logging software. And the 2 most popular are N1MM Plus, which is what a huge number of people use. And my comment about that to a newcomer is, it may be a little too complicated for a beginner. You can get there, you might need a little help setting it up the first time, but it's a really solid logging program, and it has more bells and whistles than anybody uses, including me. N3FJP also runs writes a nice piece of logging software. I know a lot of field-based sites that use it for logging. I don't remember if HCRA was using it this last year or not, but that's one a lot of field-based sites use because you get a pretty wide level of experience from operators on field day. And then there are another 100 and something logs that had other different programs, including Word and Excel and you name it, all kinds of different things. But anything that helps you capture the context for logging is great. But again, if you do it on paper, that's okay. And if you operate and don't keep a log, that's okay too. And we're just happy to get you on the air in the first place. So my basic challenge to HCRA is how many of you will get on the air this year? I'd encourage you all to try it out for 15 or 20 minutes or an hour or a couple hours, maybe an hour each day. And I would love to see you active on the air. I know I'll be on there. Pete, WNRM, is certain to be on there, and a couple of others at least. And so that's my my formal presentation. And mostly I was hoping that I'd get some questions from you. Be glad to answer them. And let me just kind of leave it at that. If I can get the right.
I have a question, Tom.
How do I undo this? Oh yeah.
Oh, you got a Mac and just
Stop sharing, Tom.
Yeah.
Up at
Better-
the,
Better describe.
yeah.
Oh, there it
that happened.
is.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Tom. How do you guys check
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
logs? How do you check the logs?
I'm not proud of this, but it's using Excel. It's not a magic program. We basically take all the incoming logs, put them in a giant spreadsheet, and then compare them.
Oh my
So
God.
if your log says you worked me on 20 meters at, on 20 meters, I make sure that you've put down my call, that you copied my Hartford County, Connecticut, and then I check my log and say, do I have you right? Do I have you in Massachusetts and Hampden County and whatever? So we check both ways, both sides of the equation. And for logs that we have, we can actually check about, for the New England stations, we can check about 80% of the QSOs. It's pretty good. Maybe I shouldn't say that. It's 65% or something like that. For stations outside of New England, we can do even better. It's more like 80% of the QSOs we can double check. If you don't send in a log, I'll notice that, oh, look, there's 20 contacts from W1AST, but I didn't get a log. But this person was on from Hampden County. Oops, somebody copied it as Hampshire County. Well, that one won't count. So we can make some inferences from logs that aren't there. One of the things you can do by putting in a big spreadsheet is to say, well, look, somebody copied W1AST 25 times, but somebody else copied W1AHT. I think it's a good chance that that's a busted call sign, that it was missed. So there's a lot of kind of comparisons you can do just by sorting and selecting within the spreadsheet. It's grown enough in recent years that it's still not a fast job. I'll put it that way. It takes some time to go through it. And 90% of the people sending in the logs on electronically helps, because that means there's only about 10 logs or so that I actually type in. The ones that actually come in on paper, I do type in, just because it's good to have a complete set of scores and complete list. So
The ones that submit by paper, how many Qs are you talking about per log, roughly?
most of them are less than 100. But I will say there's one that's over 1,500.
Oh, my God.
Smack.
But he's a friend. I know him. He's blind. Somebody else rewrites it for him. So I don't complain. It's it's not a hard one to deal with. And every year there are fewer of them. So that's okay.
Okay, Frandy's got a question.
Yeah,
Hey, Randy.
hi. I noticed that 7 area and Delaware and Indiana are also going to be on this same weekend. Do you have any
Yes.
advice on that? I mean, I know you
I'm
can work
sorry.
all 4 at once.
Yeah, you can. Yep. And the advice there is work them. If you use the N1MM software, you can log QSOs from the other 3 QSO parties, including their county, if you choose to. And you can submit a log to us or any of them. You can use the same log for all of them. And each one of the QSO parties will take the incoming log and say, look, Friendy worked some guys in this, in the other QSO party. That's okay. They will count for you. If somebody from Pennsylvania gets on and works all 4 QSO parties, when I get his log, I'll just exclude the QSOs he made with the other states. They won't count against him or anything. So each of the sponsors deals with logs that have QSOs logged from the other contests. So no problem at all.
Also at different times, I suppose, too.
Yeah,
What,
they don't all overlap time-wise. Yep, you're correct.
Now, being here in New England, what type of a report do we give out?
You and I should have said that, you give out your county and your state. Since one of the problems with New England is that there's 3 different Washington counties. There are two or three Franklin counties. It can be kind of confusing, yes. And Hampden and Hampshire do get confused fairly often. So for Hampden County, it's HMD is the abbreviation if you're on CW, HMDMA. And for Hampshire, it's HMP. We're a little bit forgiving on that. But we like to make sure people copy the right thing. Franklin is another one. There's a Franklin, Vermont, and a Franklin,
Massachusetts.
Mass, and I think there's a Franklin in Maine, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not positive now. But it can be confusing. I'll put it that way. So, but it's your county and your state. And on sideband, you can just say the full name.
Tom, this is Mark K8LSP.
Hey, how are you?
Good. 2 questions. Is there a list somewhere of the abbreviations for the counties? I know some of them have long names up in Maine particularly. Is there someplace we can find?
Yeah, there's 2 ways to find it. One is if you use a logging program like N1MM or N3FJP, they have a list of the county abbreviations that will count. So you can put that up on the screen and look at it as you're talking to people. But on the New England QSO Party website, one of the links there is to a list of the counties and the abbreviations.
Second, since I'm in Connecticut with the K8 call, does it make more sense for me to sign /1 or something? Will people think of me possibly being in Connecticut?
I'm of 2 minds of that.
No.
You probably don't have to do it. Some people do it just because they like to be sure that people know that you're in the right location. But I don't think you'll find a problem because you're going to be giving your QTH each time you work somebody anyhow. Are you in Hartford County or?
Yes, Hartford.
Litchfield? You're in Hartford, yeah. So I don't. I mean, I don't need to, but I don't. And some of the other guys in Connecticut that have non-ones in their call sign don't.
Okay.
as well. So I would say go, if people have trouble with your call sign, you could choose once to sign it portable one and just to let them know if there's a bunch calling you or not calling you. But I would generally say you don't need to.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. So
Larry?
who of our group here is going to operate? I know I plan to be on the air. Oh, okay, great. Well, it's a start. It's a nice, easy, laid back contest. It's not like you're competing with, 7,000 people around the world. So, and it's probably a good, fun one to get started, as a newbie too. Are you going to be roving, Frandy, or are you going to be working from home?
If the weather's decent, I'll be roving. Otherwise, I'll be joining the boys up in Vermont.
Cool. Sounds good.
Larry, this
Yes.
contest is a great warm-up place for your K2H team. If they are not routinely active on the air,
Hmm.
this would be a terrific place for them to flex muscles, try different stuff, get their fingers and brains going. I'm getting my K2D folks primed for this. For those who are routine contesters,
It's old hat, right?
it's old hat. But for those who are not regular contesters, this is a place to warm up and get a feel for what's coming in July.
That's a good idea. I'll send a note to my my team there. Franny's got another question or
I got a
comment.
question for Tom. It's been suggested that the state should go first in the exchange. And I think some of the other QSO parties do that. You have a comment on that?
Yeah, bottom line is I'm stubborn. And when we set it up originally, we set it up to be county, then state. And then some of the others started theirs up and decided to do it the other way around. There is no standard in that sense. Some people do it the other way around, and that's okay too. We'll take either format when you log it or when you send it. It doesn't matter. I've just kind of kept it the same just because I'm adverse to change, and I'll just leave it at that.
That's perfectly good reason.
Yeah.
Tom,
What
you
can
ought
I
to
say?
check and see if the logging programs accept that, or if they gag.
Yeah,
Well, I know N3FGP lets you rearrange the each of the different items in the log to be whatever order you want them to be in. So whatever you're comfortable with, you can rearrange it and then save it.
Yep.
No. Cool. Okay.
I
So
would agree with-
Let me create a log for NEQP and see what happens.
anybody have any more questions or comments?
I got a question. Oh, good.
What? Hold on a sec.
It's
Dean, go ahead.
Just maybe I'm kind of new to this contesting thing, so it's maybe a silly question, but I've actually got a house in Orleans County, which I didn't realize was so difficult to get.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
if I was to operate from there, how does that work when do I just designate myself as Vermont Orleans County, even though my call sign comes back to Hampden County in Mass?
Yep.
Okay.
And Orleans is a pretty tough one to work. There's not that many people active there.
Well, there's not a lot of people up there.
What's your call, Dean? I didn't ever see it.
KC1 Mike Bravo Alpha.
MBA. Okay, great. Yeah, if you operate there, you'd be very popular.
Okay.
Hey, that's neat.
That was it. Thank you.
Yep, appreciate it.
Okay. Was there somebody else with a question too?
Yeah, I got a quick one.
Go ahead.
Tom, how much RIDI activity do you have on this contest?
Not enough.
So I'd
step
be hearing
forward.
crickets.
No, it's not that bad. It's not zero, but it's not a huge amount. There's probably an equal amount of RIDI and FT something or other. It would be good for us to have more digital activity. I guess I'll just say it that way. You'll work people that nobody else will, because there's a whole different community there. By the way, did you get your email straightened out, Ray?
It's in the works, and thank you for that. I finally got a definitive answer from Bob. And it's like, I can't
Okay.
believe I've waited this long, but unfortunately I have to wait longer because it's tied in with the Microsoft Teams and the Outlook program that they were giving out. So they got to get that straightened out and get all that released.
So they don't have their
Okay,
.org
I can't-
working yet?
They got, they did not do him well when he changed his call sign.
Oh,
So
good shot.
It's
Change
been
it
that
back
long.
again, Ray. That's all.
that was September.
Yeah.
I just created an NEQP log in N1MM, and I tried to log you as CTHAR, and it said no, invalid
Okay,
error. So you can't, at least in N1MM, you cannot reverse the state and the county.
In N3FGP, you can. I know you can because I've done so in a number of contests.
Well, yeah,
But
Can you-
neither here nor there.
yep, okay.
yeah, but you go, if the majority of people who enter are using N1MM and somebody gives them CTHAR instead of HARCT,
Right.
the guy that you just worked is going to be
Confused.
kerfuffled. So don't do it.
Oh,
Don't
perfectly
worry,
understandable.
Mr. York.
Okay, all right. Any more questions from or comments from anybody else about the New England Qso Party?
Yep.
So Tom, once
Appreciate it.
again, what's the website? Just for everybody again?
NEQP.org,
Okay.
NEQP.
Okay, so the HCRA will be pushing it on their Facebook page and our email list. We'll be sending out reminders and other comments to help some of the newbies and the beginners get started too. And hopefully we'll get a stronger response by the club this year. And also, thank you very much for joining us tonight and for presenting. And there is hopefully a lot of interest in this, and hopefully you'll hear more than you have in the past or than you heard last year come out. And for those that are not associated with the club, thank you for joining us too. This is the Hampden County Radio Association, and you can find more at hcra.org. And we'll be starting up our Share the Knowledge sessions again next right after the holidays in the beginning of January when it gets cold again, to keep everybody busy during the colder months. And other than that, thanks for joining us tonight. And Tom, thank you again. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll work you on the air. I know I hear you in every single contest. And
Yeah,
all.
we're almost line of sight.
I know.
So, hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And everybody have a good evening.
See you, Tom. See you, everybody.
Have a good one, everybody. Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.